You know what they say about mixing business with pleasure? Don't. But nobody ever listens, and today's case is living proof of exactly why that advice exists. A workplace romance that started with flirty emails and ended with a lawsuit so messy that even Judge Judy had to pause and process what she was hearing. This is the kind of case where both sides walked in thinking they were right, and both sides walked out learning that love and money should never share the same desk. The plaintiff, Jessica Thornton, a 29-year-old marketing coordinator from Tampa, Florida, stood at her table looking like a woman who had been burned twice, once by love and once by her bank account. She wore a simple black blazer over a white blouse, her dark hair pulled back tight, her jaw set with the determination of someone who had rehearsed exactly what she wanted to say and wasn't going to waste a single word. Jessica was suing her ex-boyfriend and former coworker, Ryan Calloway, for $4,800. That amount covered 2 months of rent she claimed he owed her, a $1,200 security deposit he allegedly never paid his share of, and $600 for personal property she said he destroyed when things went south between them. Ryan Calloway stood at the defendant's table, looking like a man who had rolled out of bed 30 minutes ago and considered that adequate preparation for a nationally televised court appearance. He was 31, wearing a slightly wrinkled button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his sandy brown hair just messy enough to suggest he either didn't own a mirror or didn't care about the one he had. His expression was a cocktail of annoyance and bewilderment, the face of a man who genuinely could not understand why he was standing in a courtroom over what he considered a relationship that simply didn't work out. He had that particular energy of a guy who probably said the words, "Why are you making this such a big deal?" at least 40 times during the relationship, and each time it had made things exponentially worse. Judge Judy wasted zero time on pleasantries. She opened the case with her signature efficiency, looking at Jessica with the directness of a woman who had heard 10,000 versions of this same story and could already predict how it would end. "Miss Thornton, tell me about your relationship with Mr. Calloway and how we ended up here today." Jessica took a breath and began. "Your Honor, Ryan and I worked at the same digital marketing firm in Tampa. He was in the sales department and I was in marketing. We started dating about a year ago after the company holiday party. Things moved quickly. After about 2 months of dating, he moved into my apartment because his lease was ending, and he said he needed a place to stay temporarily." She paused, gathering herself. "We agreed that he would pay half the rent, which was $1,200 per month, so his share was $600. He also agreed to split the security deposit, which was $1,200, so he owed me $600 for that. For the first 3 months, he paid his share. Then he got fired from the company, and that's when everything fell apart." Judge Judy leaned forward slightly. "Why was he fired?" Jessica glanced at Ryan. "He was fired for performance issues. He wasn't meeting his sales targets. But honestly, Your Honor, he wasn't meeting his targets because he spent half his workday texting me, calling me, and coming to my desk to chat. His manager warned him 3 times. He ignored it every time because he said our relationship was more important than some corporate job." Judge Judy turned to Ryan with eyebrows raised. "Mr. Calloway, is that accurate? You were fired because you were spending too much time socializing with your girlfriend at work?" Ryan shifted his weight and rubbed the back of his neck. "Your Honor, that's her version. The real reason I was fired was because my sales manager had it out for me. He didn't like the fact that I was dating Jessica because he had asked her out first and she turned him down. So he started documenting every little thing I did wrong and built a case to fire me. It was personal, not professional." Judge Judy's expression didn't change. "Do you have any evidence of that? Any complaint you filed with HR? Any documentation of this alleged grudge?" Ryan hesitated. "No, Your Honor, I didn't file anything because I didn't want to make things awkward at the office." Judge Judy's lips thinned. "So you have no evidence. You have a theory. There's a significant difference between the two, Mr. Calloway. A theory without evidence is just a story you tell yourself to avoid responsibility. Go on, Miss Thornton." Jessica continued. "After Ryan got fired, he said he would find a new job quickly. He said he had connections and leads and that he'd be working within 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 2 months. During those 2 months, he didn't pay any rent. He didn't pay his share of utilities. He barely left the apartment. He spent most of his time playing video games and watching YouTube and telling me that he was networking, which as far as I could tell meant scrolling LinkedIn for 20 minutes and then switching to Instagram for 4 hours. Ryan interjected, "That's not fair, Jessica. I was going through a difficult time. Losing a job takes a mental toll. I needed time to process and recover before jumping back into the workforce. You can't just expect someone to bounce back immediately." Judge Judy held up her hand. "Mr. Calloway, I'm going to stop you right there. Were you living in Miss Thornton's apartment?" "Yes." "Were you eating food in that apartment?" "Yes." "Were you using electricity, water, internet, and other utilities in that apartment?" "Yes." "Did you have a roof over your head every single night?" "Yes." "Then you owed rent. Processing your feelings does not exempt you from paying your share of living expenses. You're a 31-year-old man, not a house cat. Continue, Miss Thornton." The courtroom audience stifled laughter. Ryan's face reddened. Jessica pressed forward with renewed confidence. "After 2 months of him not paying rent and not working, I sat him down and told him that I loved him, but this wasn't sustainable. I told him he needed to either start paying his share or move out. That conversation did not go well. He accused me of being materialistic. He said I was putting money above our relationship. He said that if I really loved him, I wouldn't be asking him for rent while he was struggling. He actually told me that a good girlfriend wouldn't support her partner without keeping score." Judge Judy's eyes widened slightly. "He said a good girlfriend wouldn't ask for rent from a man who hasn't worked in 2 months and living in her apartment for free." "Yes, Your Honor, those were almost exact his words." "Mr. Calloway, did you say that?" Ryan swallowed. "I said something along those lines, Your Honor, but she's taking it out of context. What I meant was that in a real partnership, you support each other through difficult times without turning it into a transaction. I wasn't trying to be a freeloader. I was trying to get back on my feet, and I needed her emotional support, not financial pressure." Judge Judy leaned back. "Mr. Calloway, emotional support and financial responsibility are not mutually exclusive concepts. A person can hold your hand through difficult times and simultaneously expect you to contribute to the household you both share. That's not materialism, that's adulthood." "What happened next, Miss Thornton?" Jessica's voice grew quieter but steadier. "Things got worse after that conversation. We started fighting constantly. He would get angry when I came home from work because I still had a job and he didn't, and I think that made him feel insecure. He started making comments about my male coworkers, accusing me of flirting with them, which was completely unfounded. He went through my phone one night while I was sleeping and found a text from a coworker named Dave who had sent me a message about a project deadline that said, "See you tomorrow," with a smiley face. Ryan was convinced that was evidence of an affair. Judge Judy looked at Ryan. "A smiley face from a coworker about a project deadline convinced you that your girlfriend was having an affair?" Ryan crossed his arms defensively. "Your Honor, you don't know Dave. The guy was always hanging around her desk. He always found excuses to talk to her. A smiley face might seem innocent, but when you add up all the small things, it paints a picture." Judge Judy's response was delivered with surgical precision. "It paints a picture of a man who has too much free time and not enough self-awareness. When you're sitting at home all day not working and not paying rent, your imagination tends to fill the empty hours with conspiracy theories. A smiley face is a smiley face, not a love letter. Move on, Miss Thornton." Jessica took another breath. The final straw came 3 weeks later. I came home from work one evening and found that Ryan had packed most of his things, but before leaving, he had taken several of my personal items. He took a Bluetooth speaker that I had bought before we started dating, worth about $200. He took a leather jacket that I had bought for myself, not for him, worth about $300. And he took a framed photograph of me and my late grandmother and threw it in the trash. The frame was broken and the photograph was torn. That photograph was irreplaceable. Her voice broke slightly on the last word, and the courtroom went quiet. Judge Judy's expression shifted from her usual tough skepticism to something harder, directed entirely at Ryan. "Mr. Calloway, did you take her speaker and jacket?"
Ryan's defensiveness wavered. "I took the speaker because I thought it was a gift she had given me, and the jacket, we both wore it. I figured it was communal property at that point." Judge Judy's voice was flat. "Communal property. You were living in her apartment, paying no rent, contributing nothing financially, and you decided that her personal possessions were communal property because you had also used them. That's not how property works. That's not how relationships work, and it's certainly not how the law works." "What about the photograph?"
Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't throw it away intentionally. It fell when I was packing. The frame broke. I should have picked it up, but I was upset and I was in a hurry to leave because Jessica had told me to get out and I was emotional." Judge Judy's voice dropped to a quiet register that was somehow more intimidating than shouting. "Mr. Calloway, a photograph of someone's deceased grandmother is not something that falls into a trash can. You don't accidentally carry something from a shelf to a garbage bin. You did that because you were angry and you wanted to hurt her in the most personal way you could. That photograph was worth nothing financially, but everything emotionally, and you knew that when you destroyed it." Ryan opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. He looked down at his shoes, and for the first time since the proceedings began, the arrogance and deflection drained from his posture. He looked like a man who was seeing his own behavior clearly for the first time and didn't like the reflection. Judge Judy shuffled through the documents in front of her. "Let me summarize what I see here. Miss Thornton, you took in your boyfriend when he needed a place to live. You supported him when he lost his job. You tolerated 2 months of him not paying rent while he played video games and accused you of infidelity based on a smiley face emoji. And when you finally asked him to contribute or leave, he stole your belongings and destroyed an irreplaceable family photograph. Is there anything I'm missing?" Jessica shook her head. "No, Your Honor, that about covers it." Judge Judy turned to Ryan one final time. "Mr. Calloway, do you have any defense for the unpaid rent? Any receipts showing payment? Any evidence that you contributed financially in any way during those 2 months?" Ryan's voice was quiet. "No, Your Honor." "Any defense for taking her speaker and jacket?" "No, Your Honor." "Any excuse for the photograph?" "No, Your Honor. I'm sorry about the photograph. I truly am." Judge Judy nodded once. "Being sorry is fine, Mr. Calloway. Being sorry is appropriate. But being sorry doesn't pay the rent, and it doesn't unbreak a photograph of someone's dead grandmother. Here's my ruling. Judgment for the plaintiff in the full amount of $4,800. That covers the 2 months of unpaid rent at $600 per month, the $1,200 security deposit share, the $200 speaker, the $300 jacket, and $1,500 in additional damages for the destruction of irreplaceable personal property, specifically the photograph. The law allows me to assign value to sentimental items when they've been deliberately destroyed out of spite, and that is exactly what happened here." She looked at Ryan with an expression that was not anger, but something closer to exhausted disappointment. "Mr. Calloway, let me give you some free advice that's worth more than the $4,800 you now owe this woman. When someone lets you into their home and their life during your lowest moment, the appropriate response is gratitude, not entitlement. You don't get to live rent-free and then accuse your partner of being materialistic for expecting you to act like a functioning adult. You don't get to go through someone's phone because your insecurity has more energy than your job search. And you absolutely do not get to destroy a photograph of someone's grandmother because you're having a bad day. Grow up, pay your debt, and the next time someone extends you kindness, try responding with effort instead of excuses." She tapped her gavel once. The case was closed. Jessica walked out of the courtroom with her chin up and $4,800 coming her way. Ryan walked out with his hands in his pockets and a judgment that he would be paying off for months. The audience filed out, talking quietly among themselves, most of them having just watched a story that reminded them of someone they knew, a friend, a sibling, maybe even themselves, who had learned the hard way that love does not come with a free lease agreement. The clips from this episode were shared across every social media platform within hours of airing. The moment Judge Judy told Ryan, "You're a 31-year-old man, not a house cat," became one of the most shared sound bites of the month. The comment sections were flooded with people sharing their own stories of partners who confused emotional support with unlimited financial subsidies. Relationship therapists cited the case in blog posts about healthy boundaries. Financial advisors referenced it in articles about the importance of written agreements when partners move in together. But perhaps the most telling detail came from Ryan Calloway himself. 3 months after the episode aired, he posted on social media that watching himself on national television was the wake-up call he needed. He said he had gotten a new job, paid off the judgment in full, and started therapy to work on the insecurity and entitlement issues that had cost him both a relationship and his dignity. He said Judge Judy was right about everything, and that being called a house cat on national television was the most effective motivational speech he had ever received. Jessica Thornton moved on with her life. She got a promotion at the marketing firm. She adopted an actual cat, one that was honest about contributing nothing to the household. And she replaced the broken frame on her grandmother's photograph with a new one that she kept on her nightstand where it belonged. Some lessons cost money, some lessons cost dignity, and some lessons cost both. Ryan Calloway paid $4,800 to learn that love is not a lease exemption, that smiley face emojis are not evidence of infidelity, and that when a woman opens her home to you during your darkest chapter, the only appropriate response is to make sure you're worth the space you're taking up. Judge Judy said it best: being sorry doesn't pay the rent, and it definitely doesn't unbreak a photograph of someone's grandmother.